You guys just saw the tool with Roxanne. Happy birthday, by the way, Roxanne. A couple of things to point out. First, with the themes of the dashboard, only one is supported. That's the Nova theme. So it's not going to make your dashboards incompatible, but you'll see some slight changes. The components right here, they added this little drop down to where you could do all components, which will be your standard Swift components, or you could do mobile only. This is going to be the HTML5 components. It's about 75% of the original Swift components. Obviously, I would suggest always to develop with the mobile components, right? That way you're going to basically forego any future pain when you want to convert it for a mobile device, right? So you do have quite a selection here. Object browser, they have a Google-like search, so this is going to save a lot of headaches. And then the mobile compatibility browser. This dashboard that I'm showing had about 8 uncompatible components, which they were only 2 different things, one spreadsheet and some value components. So I replaced 7 of the value components. You'll see me switch over 1, and then you'll see me switch over the spreadsheet components. So I didn't want to do too many because that's equivalent to watching paint dry. So the nice thing, right, you highlight the part that's incompatible, just the red circles. The other ones, there's warnings, but it's not going to cause you any issues. Right, you can go into your object browser and it's going to be highlighted for you. So it's easy to navigate, to find those components, especially with dashboards with 100+ components. This is going to be a real time saver. Before I switch those, I would like to show you the preview. This is actually really nice. This is a great feature. You can preview this to where it's going to show up on a mobile device or iOS. So you'll actually see it's an emulator. And this is actually the functionality that would be on the iPad itself. And so you can go and test it without having to push it onto your mobile device and then playing around with it, and then going back. That workflow is pretty kludgy. So they did a really nice job of allowing that. So let's go in again. Let's find our value component here. And I'm just going to switch this over. I'm used to a mouse, but I think I can handle it. So let's find a component, right? So they don't have a value component. You have to think a little bit outside of the box. It does have alerts on it, so I need something that can support alerts, right? The stop sign look, the red, green, and yellow. So what I'm going to do is use actually a few different ones. I'm going to use the icon. So let's just drag that on, right? And I'm just going to basically make this just static, just so it shows the color. I can make this the same size as the other components. All right, and let's go in and I'm going to just change a couple of pieces of this. I'm just going to tie it to the value that my value component was tied to. Right, so I'm just replacing the functionality. You'll see that I'm actually placing it directly on top. I personally found that this is much easier in the fact that you don't have to go back and reposition things. You can actually go in right away, you know, and compare them basically apples to apples. And then when you delete the old components, it's not going to make you guess where it was and realign everything. All right, so let's just put some quick alerts on here. So by value, whoever made this dashboard did a nice job of actually putting the values and labeling it correctly. So if you're redesigning someone else's dashboard, you're either going to love that person or hate them. So let's just go ahead and we'll position this down a little bit. You'll see that just quickly on the fly, I'm going to just move that into place. So it's not going to be perfect. So to display that label or that value, I'm going to take a label and I'm just going to place it right on top of that icon component. And I'll just change a couple of little things. I'm going to actually link this to the value, right, because I want that value to show up. And let's change the text of this. Let's just bold it. And really just making it the same as the other components, right? You want consistency throughout. And then let's just center that and center justify. Last thing I'll do is I need wound healing disorders. Just kind of odd to say, but I'm actually going to just put a label on top of where that is as well, just to replace that. So again, just right on top of it. It's really the easiest way to do it. I'm just going to hard code in wound healing disorders. So appearance, just going to make it consistent. So text, size 14, center, and bold. All right, we're going to have to make that a little bit wider, and I don't think the other one is bold. There we go. So again, you can place right on top, and the other one basically disappears. All right. Selecting the old component. This is the value component. So let's go into our object browser. We see our value component, and we're just going to delete that. Right. So just replacing it. So the spreadsheet. Spreadsheet obviously isn't compatible, otherwise I wouldn't be replacing it. But you know, you have the scorecard, which most people use in place of that. So let's go in and create just a series of labels because this is static. And again, being able to define what you need that component to do is going to determine what component you replace it with. So really just matching the functionality. So text, we'll do 14. All right. It'll get much more exciting when we actually look at the mobile device, I promise. General, okay. So we will just center this over. The reason why I'm showing this is because there's some best practices here. Just small things that make you save a lot of steps. And part of the reason is with this legend, this did a good job of exemplifying this. So entering text, I'm just going to do OK, just like the other. Let's do appearance, text, we'll bold and center. Oh. Okay. And then I need that background, and so I can go into my layout and select my background color. Right, so very customizable, obviously. And then you can see we have the OK with the green background. So I'm actually going to hit Control-C, and I'm just going to make 2 copies of this, drag it over, and then just replace. All right. Always good to just do your alignments on the fly. So let's go in, and we'll just make these all aligned. So we'll go in. Now all we have to do is change the color and the actual label on there, right? Show fill. So what's nice about doing the control copy and paste is that you keep a lot of those settings. So we can just change color here, and we'll change it to problem. Okay. And again, let's go into our mobile compatibility. So you see the 2 that were incompatible, right? So if we click the refresh button, especially if you have a higher number, you can see because I deleted the value, that gets taken off. The spreadsheet is still listed as incompatible, and so I can actually go in, find my spreadsheet, delete this, go back into my mobile compatibility, refresh, and now I don't have any incompatible components. Right. So this should be done. I know, right, they only support a certain font. I know it's going to make this a little bit larger, or it's not large enough to support the new text. And then we can preview this. All right, so I just re-engineered the dashboard. Like I said, it's a little tedious, right? But you can go in, you can see exactly how many components are actually supported in the new library. They did actually a very nice job of supporting the main ones that most people use. So if we go over into incidences, you can see now that the changes took place. Just to verify that everything is linked up, now you can see the alerts responding to the different selections in the dashboard. Okay, so I'm happy with that, and now I have a mobile-ready dashboard. So I can go in and I can save to platform. With a desktop application, obviously it's going to save it locally. Now you can actually connect to the server and save it on the server. So let's go in and save the platform. You can do the Swift version, the HTML5 version, or both. So I'll sign into my business object server. 15 minutes. And I'm going to choose where I want to save this. I think I have a folder. Yep. And we'll name this Health Mobile, all one word. All right, so that's communicating with the business object server, and it's saving both the Swift version, the Flash version, and the HTML5 version as well. All right. All right. So now that it's saved, I'm going to take the iPad application and I'm going to access my server. With the mobile application, some important notes is that you do need both Business Objects Service Pack 5 and you need Dashboard Service Pack 5 as well. So you do need both on Service Pack 5. Let's see if I can get the connection here.
But you need the mobile BI.
Yeah, and you need the application as well, right? So with the iPad here, I wanted to show you the different levels of security. So we have application level. And then if I want to go in and refresh here, if it was my first time signing in, it would ask me to sign into the server as well. So you have server authentication. So let's go in, Health Mobile. So as you can see, the ones that are gray with the different charts on the front, those are ones that I have not opened yet. Right? The first time you go in, it will actually take a little screenshot of the first screen and use that as a thumbnail. Good for organization. Important to note as well that you can look at web intelligence documents on here, as you probably all know as well. There's also some enhanced functionality on Crystal reports that came out with the latest release of the mobile application as well. Okay. So the Health Mobile, this is the one that I just saved. So it's communicating to my environment. It's going and it's actually accessing the HTML5 version. You can see I didn't need to go into my CMS to categorize anything. All I had to do is save it to the server and it automatically categorizes it, and you can then pull that with your iPad. So here is the dashboard that I just re-engineered. Again, I can go in using all of my functionality, and just some cool things about the mobile dashboards is they have some built-in touch gestures as well. So on the charts, you can pinch and zoom if you look in the bottom right there, and you can scroll through the different time periods. Same with the bar charts. If you touch and hold, it's actually going to give you a breakdown of all the legends as opposed to just trying to touch the little bullets and things like that. All the built-in functionality of filtering, and you can go through and consume all of your data much like you would on a regular Flash dashboard as well. Right. The response time is very quick, and let's go over into the tab that I just re-engineered. As you can see, all those components now show up on the iPad as well. Right. So being able to navigate. Okay.
This is connected or offline?
This is connected, but I'm glad you said that. What I'm going to do is actually go into my settings and drop my internet connection. And anyone that has done a demo knows that that's been suicide, basically, if you've been trying to show a dashboard. But then I can go in. This is my home screen. Let's see. Actually, you know what? I need to save it to the home screen. So when you view, you can actually go in and, there we go. You have to save it to your home screen. And so let's go back, connect. I got a little ambitious, so I apologize. Here's the server level authentication. Right? And it's very quick. You saw how quick it syncs up with that server. So now that I have the dashboard that I created, the Health Mobile, By choosing a plus sign, I can add that to my home screen. This allows me to view it offline. Right? I can also go in and see some information about this dashboard. I can add it to a favorites, and I have my white star right there. So now let's go and try and disconnect this. Okay, so Wi-Fi is off. And you can see the Health Mobile. Right? So now this dashboard is actually stored on my local device. So this is actually carrying all the data on the hardware itself. And again, you can just interact with it. You can see the response time as well is very quick. One thing to note is that this is a static dashboard, so it's got a spreadsheet on the back end of it, right? If you're using queries, query browser, things like that, it does cache that data, but you actually have to make the selections prior to going offline, right? So as you make the selections, it puts it into the cache. What I say to make it easy is that you can never view something on here for the first time. Anything that you look at has to be the second time, and then it will be in the cache. Stores up to the last 100 selections that you made, stores that data in the cache. Okay? All right.
So that's an actual definite number, 100.
Yeah, that's what SAP told me, unless they increased it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they said 100 of the previous selections. All right. So with that, I can just open it up to some questions. I have some other dashboards if you'd like to see some functionality. Yes, sir.
Does HTML5, does it work on Android or other OSs, or is it?
It does, yes. You need the application for that device. There's an Android application, and I urge you to go look at that because it's really interesting to see the difference between the two different devices and how they handle that. But yes, they do have applications for the Android device.
BlackBerry.
So it's a SAP Business Objects application, or is it an OS-specific application?
Yeah, the application is actually mobile BI.
Oh, okay.
So you're not using dashboards or Xcelsius at all for the actual deployment. You're using SAP's mobile BI. And so that is the same application that would also render Crystal reports or Webby or any other content, and dashboards is now being added to that as well. And it's the mobile BI that becomes interesting because Chris is right. You know, if you look at it with the Android, it's not as cool as it is on the iPad. If you look at it with the BlackBerry, it's not cool at all. But, it supports it.
And another thing to go on top of the application as well. So it's the green SAP BI app right there. You also see the green SBO Explorer, SAP Business Objects Explorer. Have you used Explorer at all? Right, it's their data kind of navigation tool, right? They're combining that in there as well. So the one application will actually host all those different types of BI content. It does currently, but it actually links back to the other application. Okay. Any other questions?
How many people are using dashboards or Xcelsius today? Quite a lot. Okay. So this obviously could be of great interest, to be able now to take that investment and be able to deploy it on mobile devices.
Good. I can see if I have anything else cool on here, but I'm disconnected, so. See, Roxanne, I told you I could finish fast. Yeah, I mean, right, the difference between Web Intelligence and dashboards as well is Web Intelligence, you still have to go into the CMS and categorize the document as mobile. Another important thing to note is that you have to go into a properties file within the deployment to enable being offline. I had to dig pretty deep through documentation to find, and you have to actually go in and manually alter a properties file. Okay. So it's just an important note. If you guys want offline, you probably will want to contact us because you're going to waste about 24 hours of your time otherwise.
And that little green icon that Chris was showing there from mobile BI, that's a free download off of the iTunes store. So you can, and it's got samples in it. It's got Webby samples and Crystal samples and so forth. So if you've got an iPad or an iPhone or Android, you can download that and just play with the samples that are out there already.
Right, I have 6 minutes, so I will just touch in case people didn't use the mobile application before, but it does have the same features as previous, right? You can email, you can annotate, but they did do a couple of cool things. You can still draw, right? So you can make your notes and say you're fired or good job. You can erase. Oh, let's hit the erase button. Right? You can make notes here, right? So you can actually leave a note there. You can take this and you can actually use it to block out sensitive data. So you can actually make the background black it out, and then you can kind of control what you share, right? With that, you can change the colors of both font and the background. And then they have this cool blur feature. So if you see in the top right, there's some font. If that's sensitive information, say if you're trying to be HIPAA compliant, you can go in and just say let's blur. You can also crop that, but I really like the blur, and so you can see it actually blurs that out. So again, if you have personally identifiable information, you can actually blur that out if it's account numbers, names. So I don't know how they thought of it, but it's pretty cool.
You might be able to read that.
I know. Yeah, right.
Out of the dashboard and you pull it back up again, it saves whatever you blur out, or what is that?
You would use this as an annotation, and so you'd really just send this out as a screenshot, right? Same as if you make those marks, those circles and stars, you really don't want that to stay on your dashboard because then it's going to look like a 4-year-old got a hold of it. So, I mean, you really want to just send out a screenshot at that point. So, all right, 2:11. I think I did good on time. Any other questions on any topic while I'm up here? Yes, sir.
Generally, for the mobile devices, it seems like the best stuff is on iOS. Almost, across different vendors for different classes of applications. So if you're going mobile as a recommendation, if you're going to try to standardize, focus on iOS. And then the second question, you said on the iPhone, will it show up okay on a small big device?
It's different on an iPhone. You actually have to change some settings. But really for the iPhone, you want to use more web intelligence documents, or you can design you want to redesign for an iPhone, right? Because you're only going to want one chart, something like that, and you can scroll around that. But it's possible. You would have to re-engineer for that. As far as the iOS platform question, the reason why iOS seems like it's so far advanced is because think of the market share in the corporations as far as why people were using it, right? So if you have 90% market share of iPads, you're going to develop for the iOS, and I think the development was always just a step ahead of the Android. Android was more to just say that they had it because the question would come up. But I mean, I really haven't seen too many enterprise-wide deployments of Android.
Well, it's also an initiative of S&P. Most of their mobile apps are iOS-based, so they've set the trend themselves as well. They're very different to everybody else.
And Android's been fragmented too.
Any other questions?